talking about elders and their
Mm-hmm.
qualifications, right, out of 1 Timothy chapter 3, right?
Yeah.
And we finished up with elders, and now we get into the qualifications for deacons. So turn your Bible to 1 Timothy chapter 3.
Okay.
And there's a specific qualification that I want to focus on today. And when I get to it, I'm going to let you know. Yeah. So it's 1 Timothy chapter 3.
Okay.
And we're talking about the qualifications for a deacon.
What verse?
We start at verse 8. 1 Timothy 3 and verse 8. And I'm reading from the New King James Version. So the words might be slightly different from most of y'all who might have the King James Version. Okay? So deacons, the word deacons literally means in the Greek, means a servant. These are specially identified servants in the church. In other words, the deacons carry out the commands of the elders. Okay? So, in a general sense, can a woman be a servant in the church?
Yes, you can.
That's a question, y'all.
Yes, but not
I said, in a general sense, can a woman be a servant in the church?
Yes.
Yes. Of course, a woman can be a servant.
Yes.
Of course. Yeah, she can do things in the church to help out. That's what a servant is all about.
Exactly right.
But can she hold the office of a deacon?
No.
No. There you go. No.
No.
That's exactly right. Even though the word deacon means servant, a woman cannot hold the office of a deacon. That's reserved for a man. But a woman can be a servant in the general sense in the church congregation.
Yes.
Right? You got women who serve the congregation all the time. And we're not talking about serving as far as taking in parts of the 5 items of worship. Okay? Those are reserved for men. But you have women, Sunday school teachers, right? Women who cook, they clean, go visit the sick, they do all those things.
That's right.
So in the general sense, women can be a servant in the church.
That's right.
But they can't hold the office of a deacon.
No.
All right, now let's get to verse 8.
Okay.
1 Timothy chapter 3. And it says, likewise, deacons must be reverent. And that word reverent means that a deacon must be dignified, an honorable person. He knows when to be serious. This is a person of good character. You say overall, he's a good person. He's got a good reputation. Not double-tongued. So what he says doesn't change depending on who he's talking to.
That's right.
So I can't go and tell John one thing,
That's right, brother.
and then on that same subject go and tell Tim something else. See,
That's right.
you got to be a man of your word. You got to be trustworthy, right?
Right.
And then it says, the next one says, not given to much wine. And this is what I want to focus on today, this qualification. So we're going to spend the rest of our time on this qualification of not given to much wine. Because a lot of people have taken this to mean that it's okay for a deacon to drink as long as it's in moderation. Right? As long as he's not drinking to the point of getting drunk. And a lot of people believe that, and some people may even teach that. Because when they look at the qualifications for an elder, it says, if you go to 1 Timothy 3 and verse 3, it says not given to wine. But for a deacon, it says not given to much wine. And so that's a misinterpretation of the scripture. That is not meaning that a deacon can drink a little wine, but an elder can't drink any wine. And so that's what we're going to look at today. That's what we're going to look at today. So look at that term, not given to much wine.
All right.
And I want to focus on that right now. I want to focus on that much wine. And we're going to turn to Ecclesiastes 7. Ecclesiastes 7. Chapter 7, and we're going to start at verse 17. So I'm going to move this along kind of quickly, so you're going to, y'all have to keep up with me. Okay? Ecclesiastes 7, and start at verse 17. Okay? Ecclesiastes 7, and start at verse 17. And it says, "Do not be overly wicked, nor be foolish. Why should you die before your time?" And notice what Solomon says here. It says, "Do not be overly wicked." Now, he's not saying that it's okay to be wicked as long as you're not being overly wicked, right? Nobody would say that it's okay to be just a little bit wicked, see, right? So it's got that same feel that not giving the much wine has for deacon. I'm going to show you one more example. You go to James, James chapter 1. All right, James chapter 1. James chapter 1. And we're going to start at verse 21. James 1 and verse 21. And it says, "Therefore, lay aside all filthiness and overflow of wickedness." Now, is this trying to say that it's okay to be wicked as long as it's not overflowing? Right?
No.
Of course not. It's not saying that at all. And we're going to get to exactly what these mean. I just want to show you how sometimes Bible language sometimes might confuse some people. And that's why we're here to see exactly what it's saying here. All right, so that's James 1 and 1 and verse 21. So that would be kind of like me saying that, let's just say if Tim smoked, and I said, "Tim, look, you need to stop smoking all of those cigarettes." Does that mean I want him to only smoke 1 or 2 cigarettes? No. What I'm really telling Tim is you don't need to be smoking at all, right? And that's basically what the Bible is saying as well. So this is not an approval for deacons to drink in any amount. Let's go to Titus 2, the book of Titus. We're going to start at chapter 2 and verse 2. Titus chapter 2 and verse 2. We're going to look at some more examples of this. Titus 2, chapter 2 and verse 2. And it says that the older men be sober, reverent, and temperate. Now that word sober means to abstain. And that word temperate means to have self-control. So that's meaning to abstain from strong drink or any bad thing. Have self-control. And then check out verse 3. Same chapter, verse 3. Now that was speaking of the older men. Now it gets into the older women. And it says the older women, likewise, that they be reverent in behavior, not slanderous, not given too much wine. Too much wine. So you mean to tell me that the older men just needs to abstain, but the older women can drink a little bit? Does that make any logical sense whatsoever? Yes, it does.
Yes, the Bible says.
They have to drink.
They just get a little drunk.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So we got some comedians. So what I'm trying to say is warnings against excess is not approval for the act itself. Just because the Bible is warning you against excess, don't mean it's that it's approving of that action. Just like me saying, Tim, you don't need to smoke all those cigarettes. I'm not giving him approval to smoke 1 or 2 cigarettes. I'm really saying, Tim, you need to stop smoking. That's really what I'm saying. And that's what the Bible is saying. It's not saying that the deacons can smoke a little bit, but elders can't smoke at all. I mean, drink at all. Everybody get what I'm saying here? Y'all, I'm trying to, okay. Now let's go back to 1 Timothy. 1 Timothy chapter 3. 1 Timothy 3. And this time we're going to look at the deacons' wives real quick. And let's see what it says about their wives. 1 Timothy 3, and we're going to skip down to verse 11. 1 Timothy 3 and verse 11. And it says, verse 11, it says, likewise, their wives, talking about the deacons' wives, must be reverent, not slanderous, temperate. There's that word temperate again. Meaning to abstain, meaning to have self-control. And it says, faithful in all things. So, the deacon's wives need to have self-control and abstain from strong drink and drugs and stuff. But the deacons themselves can drink a little bit as long as they don't get drunk. You see the pattern here? That makes no sense. But people have used this to justify social drinking.
That's right.
And the Bible does not justify social drinking. That's what I'm getting at here. So, but you say, wait a minute now, look at here. Come on now. The Bible condemns drunkenness. I mean, I know what I can read. I ain't no fool. The Bible condemns drunkenness. Where does the Bible condemn social drinking or modern drinking? Show me in the Bible, right? Show me some book, chapter, verse. Well, this is what I can tell you. Everywhere the Bible condemns drunkenness, it condemns moderate drinking. It condemns drinking, period. And I'm going to show you what I'm talking about here. I'm going to go into some scriptures that people use as their defense for moderate or social drinking, okay? Let's go to 1 Peter chapter 4. 1 Peter chapter 4. And we'll start at verse 3. 1 Peter chapter 4 and verse 3. You dare say amen?
Amen.
If I'm going too fast for you, say slow down.
Slow down.
All right. Okay. I'm going to slow down just a hair. Okay. All right. That's 1 Peter 4 and start at verse 3.
Okay.
All right. It says, for we have spent enough of our past lifetime in doing the will of the Gentiles, when we walk in lewdness, lust, and it says drunkenness. Now, the King James Version says excess of wine. Okay? Yeah, New King James says drunkenness. King James says excess of wine. Well, you say, there you go, brother. There you go. That's my proof right there. See, the Bible condemns drunkenness. See? Right? Condemns drunkenness. But what we need to see is what exactly that means. So, and then you look at it, it says revelries. I think the King James says, what does the King James says? Revelings.
What verse is that?
Same verse.
Okay.
It said revelings. And then New King James says drinking parties. And then I believe the King James says banqueting. Right? Huh? But okay, but let's look back at that word drunkenness in verse 3. It says lust, drunkenness. And then the King James says excess of wine.
That's right.
Now you drop down to verse 4. And it says, in regard to these, they think it strange that you do not run with them in the same flood of dissipation, And I believe the King James says in excess of riot. Is that right?
That's right.
See, excess of riot. And that riot means disorderly conduct, ungodly behavior. So you don't believe Peter is saying that it's okay to have just a little bit of disorderly conduct, right? Am I right? So he's not saying excess of wine that it's okay to drink just a little bit of wine. See, that's saying that warnings against excess is not approval for the action. And then let's go back to verse 3 where we said drunkenness. Then it says revelries. Now what are revelries? Revelries in the Greek literally means noisy festivities. Noisy festivities. Well, you say, what's wrong with a noisy party, huh? What's wrong with going to my kid's birthday party? It's not talking about your kid's birthday party. A good example was when Moses came down from receiving the law, and then he saw all the people had made a golden calf, and they were dancing, and they was engaging in drinking. See, that was a sinful environment. That's what the Bible means when it says revelries. Talking about noisy festivities. Today, that would be your nightclubs, your casinos, this environment of sin. See, those are sinful, and Christians are not supposed to engage in going to those type of places. And then it says revelries. Then it says drinking parties. In other words, what the Bible is saying that it's improper for a Christian to meet for the purpose of drinking.
That's right.
Okay? That banqueting or drinking parties, that's what it's talking about. It's improper for a Christian to meet for the purpose of drinking. Alcoholic beverages we're talking about here. Okay, we go to Ephesians 5 real quick. And we're going to come back to Matthew 11:18. Oh, and Ma, you need to be a little patient. I'm going to get to that, okay? That's in my lesson, okay? I just saw what you're talking about, so just hold tight, okay?
Ephesians 5, what verse?
And believe me, that one is very simple to explain. Ephesians 5 and verse 18. We're doing this in an order real quick. I made my outline the best way so people can understand exactly what I'm getting at here. And these are scriptures, like I said, that people use to justify social drinking. And and my point here is that the Bible, everywhere the Bible condemns drunkenness, it condemns drinking, period. Okay? All right. So we get to Ephesians 5 and verse 18. You there?
Yeah.
Right. And it says, and do not be drunk with wine. And that word drunk with wine is what I want to focus on a little bit here. Now, people say, well, there you go. Bible says as long as you don't be drunk, you okay. So you can drink a little bit, just don't get drunk. But that's not what the Bible is saying. That word drunk with wine here, that phrase, that comes from the Greek word methusko. And methusko means to begin to soften. It means to grow drunk. It's the process of becoming drunk. That's what it's talking about here. So what Paul is saying here is that do not begin the process of becoming drunk. And then you get to, it says, in which is dissipation. That's what the New King James says. And I believe the King James Version says, in which is excess. Right? Now, people say, well, there you go. It says, do not be drunk with wine, in which is excess. See, it's saying don't drink in excess. But that word excess here is not talking about alcohol. It's not referring to alcohol. What it's referring to is ungodly behavior. Because the American Standard Version says, wherein is riot. And that word riot means ungodly conduct, disorderly conduct. So another way to rephrase this saying would be, instead of saying, and do not be drunk with wine, in which is excess, another way of saying is saying, don't begin drinking alcohol, which brings ungodly behavior, but be filled with the Spirit. That's a better way of interpreting that scripture. That is not condemning, okay, it's all right for a moderate use of alcohol. We're talking about fermented alcohol. All right, and we're going to get to the other type of wine in the Bible in just a minute. Now, that scripture, let's go to John chapter 2. John chapter 2. And we're going to start at verse 6. And it says, now there were set there 6 water pots of stone, according to the manner of purification of the Jews, containing 20 or 30 gallons apiece. Mm-hmm. Now, just imagine 6 pots that contain, each pot containing 20 to 30 gallons.
Okay.
Okay, just keep that in mind. So that would be over 120 gallons.
That's correct.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
All right. And it says, Jesus said to them, fill the water pots with water. And they filled them up to the brim. And he said to them, draw some out now, and take it to the master of the feast. And I believe some versions say the governor of the feast. He said, and they took it. When the master of the feast had tested the water that was made wine, and did not know where it came from. But the servants who had drawn the water knew. The master of the feast called the bridegroom, and he said to him, every man at the beginning sets out the good wine, and when the guests have well drunk, right? Have well drunk, then the inferior, you have kept the good wine until now.
That's right.
So now, a lot of people believe that is people saying that Jesus created alcoholic wine. Right? And that is not true. That is far from the truth that it can possibly be. Now, what you have to look at, that word in verse number 10, where it says, and when the guests have well drunk. Well, first of all, you got to know that in the Bible, the word wine is used generically from the Greek. There's many words that's used, but the word that's most commonly used is the word onos. Onos. And that could either mean fermented wine, which is alcoholic wine, or non-alcoholic wine. And depending on the context of the text itself, depends on whether it's talking about alcoholic or non-alcoholic. That makes sense to everybody? Okay, so you have to take it in its context. So when we talk about non-alcoholic wine, what are we talking about? We're talking about the juice from the grape. We're talking about grape juice. So it's either referring to grape juice or it's referring to alcoholic wine, which is fermented wine, okay? All right, so now we have to determine which one is it referring to, okay? And you have to take it in this context. And now let's look at verse 10. Verse 10 again, it's in John chapter 2.
Go ahead.
It says, and when the guests have well drunk, and that well drunk indicates that they drunk freely. And that means until they had plenty. In other words, it'd be like saying, all right, you got all that food in the dining room in there, and I go and I eat all I can, and I go and eat all the dessert I can, and then my mom would bring my favorite dessert, that millionaire pie. Then I'm like, oh man, you done saved the best for last. Now I'm full and I can't eat another bite. See, that's kind of like what it's saying here. So, if for people who would say, well, that's Jesus making alcoholic wine. Now we go back to this. Now, look at that word, well drunk.
And what he said.
So what they would be saying is, hold your peace for a minute. So what they would be saying is, that after people have drunk freely, after they have drunk plenty, now consider that, just think if they were talking about alcoholic wine. So after they had drunk plenty, so now they had gotten to the point where they're probably a little bit intoxicated or a lot intoxicated, right? They drunk freely. They well, in other words, they're well wine. And you know some people are going to be intoxicated because people can't hold their liquor the same, right? Now you got Jesus coming back, and you go back to verse 7, it says, verse number 6, it says, each container containing 20 or 30 gallons apiece. So now you got Jesus coming back making another 120 gallons of alcoholic wine for them to get even more drunk. But now what sense does that make? So now people are saying that Jesus is a partaker in other people's sin. Because if you well wine, you well drunk, you know there's going to be some people intoxicated. And so now Jesus is making another 120 gallons more intoxicating wine to get them even more drunk. That makes sense to anybody?
No.
Of course not.
Don't make no sense.
This is talking about juice of the grape. Grape juice. That's what it's talking about. So you had the inferior grape juice, the off-brand,
Yeah.
and now Jesus brought in the Welch's grape juice.
All right.
The good tasting stuff. See, something that's not going to get them intoxicated. Go ahead. Hold on.
But I just want to say
Go
one thing.
ahead. Go ahead.
The only thing I can say about that, the wine they was drinking,
Uh-huh.
I don't know what kind it was, but in a way, the people that had been drinking wine, this wine connoisseur, he drank of the wine, and he said the wine it was inferior to the wine that was not drinking.
That's
You
right.
know, I mean that means that the wine that Jesus made was so much better than the one that he was drinking.
That's right. That's all it meant. That it was so much better. The taste was probably better.
That's right.
It was
It would have been to me.
Yeah, it was like the name brand stuff.
Yeah,
Not this off brand stuff y'all been drinking. This is not referring to alcoholic wine. Jesus is not going to be partakers of other people's sin
That's right.
and getting people drunk.
I agree.
Go ahead, Bob.
Oh, I think what's confusing was verse 10 where it say when the guests had well drunk, and when you see drunk, you think about they had gotten drunk, you know.
Well, that means that they drunk freely. That
they
they.
were filled.
Yeah, let me get one person at a time. I got it. I'm gonna get you. I promise. All that means that well drunk from the Greek is talking about that they had plenty, that they had well drunk, that they were well wined. In other words, they were filled, yeah. And now that Jesus comes out with all this good tasting stuff. That's what it's saying here. It's not saying that it was, and then you notice that it says the master or the governor. It says, and he said to him, every man at the beginning sets out the good wine, and when the guests have well drunk, then the inferior. So the governor could even tell the difference between the good and the inferior. So that tells you that his senses were still intact. He was not drunk. Because once you're drunk, you'll drink anything. Am I right about it? I mean, you're just looking for some alcohol to get even more drunk. So the Bible, everywhere the Bible condemns drunkenness, it condemns social drinking.
That's right.
All right, everybody get my point here? Go ahead, Emma.
Oh, I was just gonna say what the commentary said. When men have well drunk, this is not an indication of drunkenness, but simple of having consumed a lot of the particular beverage that was served.
There you go. Thank you. That's exactly right. And I don't always give too much credence to commentary because a lot of the commentary is from denominations.
I know what you're talking
But
about.
they can get it right sometimes. Right? And they got that one right on the head. All right, our last scripture, and then we're going to be ready to do, I think, for our anniversary today. And it's good to see everybody here. A lot of people that we hadn't seen in a while here. It's good to see all the familiar faces, too. All right, yeah. Our last scripture, and I think this last scripture should answer your question, Mom. But it's not going to be from Matthew, it's going to be from Luke. But it's going to be basically the same thing. I think you, and if it's not, you let me know and I'll go explain yours too.
But teacher,
Yes.
you know, the back of what you said about what Jesus did. See, Jesus lived under the law, is that correct?
That is absolutely right.
And even under the law, it was wrong to give somebody that fermented wine to make them drunk. Because look at Habakkuk 2:15. It says here, it says, woe unto him that giveth his neighbor drink and put thy ball to him and maketh him drunken.
Right.
Also that thou mayest look on their nakedness.
That's right.
And you know, that is the purpose that a fellow go keep buying whiskey instead of trying to pour it in a woman. You know what it's for, don't you? Get a drunk.
See, and that goes to my point that I was making before. That's a good example of when. That is a good example of how the Bible uses that same word wine to mean fermented and unfermented. And it depends on the context of which one is exactly talking about. See, and we know in the context which one that's talking about. See, that, and thanks, John. That's a good example of that. That's a good example for that. Yes, sir.
I'm glad you clarified that because in my thinking, relatively to age thinking, wine is wine. Well, I never thought it was grape juice or apple juice, whatever.
Me too.
Everybody would have thought it was fermented wine. That's what I'm saying.
Right, but like I said, it uses that word wine. It's a generic term that means fruit of the grape, which is grape juice, and alcoholic wine as well.
That's right.
And then you got to look at the context of the passage to determine which one is using. Just and like the one John just gave, that's talking about the fermented kind.
That's right.
Right?
Yeah. That whipped is unfermented.
Yeah, that's that's right. All right, let's get to our last verse because I'm going to go ahead and wrap this up. That's Luke 7, and we're going to start at verse 33. Luke 7 and verse 33.
Luke what? Luke 7?
Yeah, we're going to go to Luke chapter 7
Luke 7.
and verse 33. And this is my last one, and then the lesson going to be yours. Luke chapter 7. And we're going to start at verse number 33.
Okay. 7 and 33. Okay, go ahead.
Okay, everybody there?
Yes, sir.
All right. And it says, for John the Baptist came, neither eating bread nor drinking wine, and you say he has a demon.
That's right.
Now, a lot of people take this talk thinking it's referring to alcoholic wine, of course. People don't know how to differentiate the difference between the two. Right? He said, but let's examine what does it mean by first when it says John came neither eating bread nor drinking wine. Let's examine that for a minute. In Matthew 3 and around verse 4, John's diet consisted of what? Locusts and wild honey. Am I right about it?
Yes.
See, John lived a rugged life, right? In the mountainous areas of Judea, right? He didn't do all the things that normal people do. Right? He didn't attend all the social events, the banquets, and all those type of things. You know, he was an outdoorsman type of living a rugged life. See, and that's what it's saying. In other words, what it's saying is, John the Baptist came neither eating bread nor drinking wine. In other words, he's saying John didn't come doing all the things that normal people would come do. He didn't come eating your bread and drinking your wine. His diet consists of wild honey and locusts. All right, now let's get to the next verse. That's a lot of times taken out of context. And you say he has a demon. In other words, what he's saying is, John didn't come doing these things, and you said he has a demon. So you lying about John. Because John didn't have a demon. Right? Just because he didn't partake in a lot of your social things you partake in or eat the same things you ate, you claiming that he had a demon. But that's a lie. No, that's my word, not the Bible. Okay? He said that's not true. Right. He was different. That's right. He was different. That's a good way to put it. And then we look at verse 34. And it says, verse 34, but the Son of Man, talking about who?
All right.
Talking about Christ. Talking about Jesus. But the Son of Man has come eating and drinking, and you say, look, a glutton and a wine bibber.
That's right.
And then look at what else it says. It says a friend of tax collectors and sinners. And people have taken this out of context. That means Jesus himself has drunken alcoholic wine. Nothing can be further from the truth. No matter how much they push, no matter how much they want to justify, that is not what it's saying. All it's saying is the opposite of what it was saying about John. In other words, Jesus came eating what all the other people ate, eating the same fruit of the grape that other people ate. See, Jesus went to weddings. He shunned no man. Am I right about it? He ate with publicans. He ate with sinners. He dined with Pharisees. He did all those things. And but it says that he is a glutton and a wine bibber. So in other words, what he's saying is, look, you didn't tell the truth about John because he was different from y'all. But now I come being just like y'all, doing it, being in the same activities that y'all are in, and now you call me a glutton and a drunk. So you lied about him, and now you lying about me. See, this right here is not hard to understand. This is actually one of the more easier ones to explain. See, it just said they were enemies of Jesus, and so you respect your enemies to lie on you. Am I right about it? Yeah. To try to bring you down, to try to turn people against you. This is not referring to alcoholic wine. They talking about that Jesus drunk alcoholic wine. And to sum up my point here, the Bible, we got to remember, if you don't remember anything from the night, remember this. That just because the Bible warns you against excess wine, excess ungodly conduct, does not mean that it's giving approval for the act itself. No more than if I told Tim, look, stop smoking all those cigarettes. I'm not telling Tim it's okay to smoke 1 or 2 cigarettes. I'm saying, Tim, you need to quit. Okay? Stop it. And that's the Bible. Everywhere it condemns drunkenness, it condemns social drinking. And Christians should not be meeting for the purpose of drinking alcoholic beverages. See, we need to be a people that set apart for God's work. We need to be a peculiar people. Right? We need to differentiate ourselves from the world. See, you can't do that when you're partaking in every activity they partake in. You can't go to their bars and drink what they drink. Do the things that they do. Go to the clubs and all that thing. But with that, like I said, on Friday night we want to be in the world, and then come Sunday we want to be holy. It don't work like that.
No, you're right.
Okay? So Christians should not be engaging, meeting for the purpose of drinking alcoholic beverages. And we have seen, in everybody's family, we've seen some of the devastating effects it can cause. Amen. So don't even begin the process of becoming drunk. Okay?
All right. That's right.
All right, the lesson is yours now.
Good job. Good job.